hear you talk about this space and the concept of space. It's almost like I can't even grasp that. Like I can't even, I don't even know what to do with that. Like I hear you talk about it, and I hear you talk about the concept as a leg and a pillar, but I don't even know what to do with that.
Yes, but some part of you does. Your mind is like, what the? I mean, and it's going to try and use logic, as Patrick says. I think is it logic? So your mind can only use the tools that it has, but some part of you is able to recognize prior to all concepts. Some part of you. And that's the part I'm saying, hello, let's see if that can talk.
I've heard you speak, I heard you speak last year, and you were pointing to something about back. And I'm wondering what exactly you're pointing to that's beyond the beyond, and how that relates to anything I'm experiencing.
Yes. Different technique, same destination. That's not a destination. Just another technique, just pulling it from concepts. When we go back, we're directionally taking a path in order to shift your perception to a different part of your brain, and it helps some neurological rewiring, which is part of what happens with awakening. Okay, so with this, I'm just going at it from another angle. Just pulling away the basic concepts that have been taken for granted that mightn't have been challenged before. Because you see, the non-dual will unity. If we look at unity consciousness, there's two ways of looking at it. It's like, okay, God is in everything. It's like in India there's a story about, or it's a very useful metaphor, that everything's made of gold. So if it's a gold necklace or a gold ring, like they're two different forms. Might be you and Mahesh. One is a necklace and one is a ring. Actually, it's just gold. They're just appearing differently and have different functions because they appear differently. Okay, but everything is gold. That's one way to view unity consciousness. Now, you can see unity consciousness without space, and that's what you were describing. It's like unity consciousness when everything is actually the one thing. It's not this one substance manifesting as forms. Take away space. There's no manifesting as different forms because we don't have the differentiation that comes with space. Right? So unity is actually everything must be inside each other. Everything is in that grain of sand. Everything is inside each other. The wave isn't on top of the ocean. The ocean is inside the wave is inside the ocean without space. Everything is inside and everything else. Making a bit of sense to some people, I think. Someone else coming. So you're seeing unity consciousness without space, when like no borders, everything's melting into each other. It's the deeper understanding of unity consciousness, because the mind will logically get the thing about gold being in different forms, that we're all God manifesting as different things. Okay, that's easier. It's logical. Take away space. Yeah, it's like your perception alters. The perception alters. So it's great to have a capacity to allow the perceiving to come through and not to be edited, not for mind to grasp it and reroute it. So right now, it's unity consciousness without space. That's what you were talking about there. Perfect. It's fine. And then for most people, when they do drop in and there's that vastness, that if the vastness still has the concept of space in it, something collapses. Now we're talking about emptiness. Now we're really talking about emptiness. And where you even see the next step from there is that the concept of truth goes also.
I've heard some people talk about that they have these experiences where they look at something and say, "Oh, I'm that chair, I'm that flower, I'm that tree." I don't feel that.
Yes.
What is that all about?
Yeah, that's the unity consciousness where you get to see that the gold is the necklace, the gold is manifesting as the ring, as the bracelet, whatever. That's what that is. That the perception of unity consciousness has space. Space is still intact. So what it's doing is showing you the oneness. There's an alignment with the oneness. What's in place is space, and what's in place is a level of identity, a non-dual identity, where you are all of it. And that's the thing about non-duality, is that there is identity still in place, because you are the absolute. You are the divine. There's still an identity there. It's not personal, but there's still identity there. So if you've got identity and space, you will see that you're the chair and that you're the tree. That's set up. Whereas if one of those has taken a rocking, then you won't have that perception. One of those is already broken down. It won't line up. So it's fine not to get that one. Unity without space, you described that this morning. That's how unity consciousness is showing itself to you, that there's just no borders. Everything kind of can melt into each other. Now, the thing is there an identification that's watching that? Like, is there an identity? Is the perceiving happening from within the borderless?
I don't necessarily feel myself here seeing borderlessness.
Yes.
It's just a sense of borderlessness.
Yes.
That
Yes.
makes sense.
Perfect. Because if there was you looking at it, there would be subject, object. All the objects are borderless. They've all merged, but I'm the subject. It's like, we still got to. We still got to. This is exactly the point of where pure consciousness is doing all of it. Even when you think you've forgotten who you really are, when consciousness forgets who it is, it actually only knows itself to be exactly what it is. It does not lose itself ever. Even when you forget, when it forgets, and you imagine there's a you, because consciousness is forgetting itself. Even when there's suffering, and we're trying to, make sense of suffering in the world, because consciousness has forgotten itself, and so it's believing its experience, and hell can happen, phenomenon hell can happen. Consciousness itself knows itself, but not as the sufferer. Knows itself, but not as the individual. It knows itself. So it doesn't have the breakdown capacity to say good or bad, lost or found, forgetting, not forgetting. That's why when your perception comes from pure consciousness, everything is okay. Nothing matters at all. Nothing matters, because that division is not in place. It actually doesn't exist at all. It's gobbledygook. It's a perception. It's a mechanism that allows separation to happen, allows subject-object, and after subject-object, suffering happens. But consciousness knows itself not as anything. It just knows itself. So it actually can't forget itself, because if it knew itself as something, then it would have something to forget. So it's truly not touched by any of it. And you found that frequency, that zone of where knowing itself, point. That's the sentence. Self-knowing. That is integral to that point of manifestation. And yet it's within a physical form that the rest of us can say, yes, there is a woman who is separate from me. Yet that capacity can be here also, to divide it all up. But look, there it is. That point of perception of consciousness. self-knowing. And it's in unity consciousness. It's in unity consciousness when you take away the division, the division that comes from identifying with unity consciousness and space. So that's where non-duality falls short. Because non-duality, it can have space or it can be without space, but if there is identifying with any of it, there's identifying with the absolute, if there's identifying with anything, with the non-dual perspective,